So you've been looking to move to the Carolinas, perhaps North Carolina, and yet you saw the recent storm that came through with Hurricane Helene, and you may be asking a lot of questions. Well, in this video, not only am I going to answer all of your questions with regard to Charlotte, North Carolina and South Carolina on how the impacts of Helene have affected our area, but I'm also going to give you an inside scoop from someone who actually went to high school there and has a lot of my family in the Asheville area, and what is going on in that region, as well as how you can help. Now, if you're looking for everything Charlotte, North Carolina, the ins, the outs, and everything in between, you've come to the right channel. I'm here to keep you up to date on everything going on, even the things you didn't know you needed to know. So be sure to like and subscribe and stay up to date with everything I have to post. Now, I actually get calls, texts, emails, Zoom invites from people just like you looking to move to the Charlotte, North Carolina area. So if that's you, be sure to give me a call, a text, an email, a Zoom invite. All my information is in the description below. I'm here to make your move everything you want it to be, whether it's 9 days or 90 days from now, whether you're moving across the world, across the country, or just across town. So let's talk a little bit about Charlotte, North Carolina, and what in the world happened with Hurricane Helene. Now, I've said it in other videos and I'm going to say it again here. Charlotte, North Carolina has not seen a major hurricane since 1989. Now, that actually does still hold true. Although our neighbors up in the Carolina Mountains, Western North Carolina and Tennessee did see catastrophic flooding, which I am going to talk about here in a moment, Charlotte did not. Now, there are some areas that did see some flooding in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and they were off of Mountain Island Lake as well as the upper region of the Catawba River. Let's explain what happened and break that down. See, Duke Energy owns and operates all the lakes in North Carolina, including all the dam systems. And when it comes to the dam that holds back Lake Norman, the largest lake on the East Coast, they do not ever want that dam to fail, because if it were to fail, there would be catastrophic consequences to the south. So how do they prepare for storms? Well, whether there's light rain or heavy rain, whatever is expected in the forecast, they will actually do the tallies and figure out how much water is going to be entering the Lake Norman Lake. And they will adjust those lake levels as needed so they can keep an even flow below. Now you might be wondering, well, if there's a drought, how come Lake Norman also goes down? Well, yeah, there are also people further down as well as animals and ecosystems that still do need water, so the flow is always coming through. It's just dependent upon the speed. So when we do have storms coming in, they will lower those lake levels to accommodate for the amount of water coming in. Now, if there are torrential downpours that maybe weren't calculated for, they will open the floodgates, literally, on the Lake Norman Dam, which will raise the water levels of the lakes and rivers below, because they cannot risk the failure of the dam on Lake Norman. Now, that being said, we did see some flooding in Mountain Island Lake. We did see some flooding off of the Catawba River, but it's nothing compared to what the Western Carolina mountains saw. So let's talk about Hurricane Helene and the damage that she caused when it comes to North Carolina mountains, the Western Carolinas, and Tennessee. Now, Asheville has been at the forefront of towns mentioned in the reports that are coming out that you've probably been seeing, but Asheville is just the largest city available to be mentioned, where we see the biggest damage, and actually ongoing search and rescue efforts even a week later are up in the further parts of the mountains. So let's talk a little bit about the topography of the Western Carolinas. These are mountainous areas with small switchback roads that go all the way up into the mountains, with multiple veins of smaller roads that lead to not only towns, but also small communities of people. Now, when these roads wash out, it actually causes them to become trapped. Now, let me explain what washing out of a road means. It doesn't mean there's dirt on it. It doesn't mean that there was water on it. It means the road is gone. Now, imagine having this little switchback road and suddenly there is a 10-foot gap where the road was that drops off into nothing. That's what a lot of these communities and thousands of people are facing, and that's why they're trapped. So when we look at the history of hurricanes hitting the Carolinas, what do you think of? The East Coast, right? Yes, hurricanes have hit Wilmington and other various areas of the Outer Banks over many, many, many years, and that is why there's flood insurance and things like that out on the coast. While it's not something we hope for, it's something that is expected and we know it could happen. Now, when we go ahead and look all the way to the west, Asheville and the mountainous areas around it, including the Tennessee areas, do not see hurricanes. Like, they just do not. Now, the last major flood to have hit Asheville, North Carolina, once again, I'm mentioning Asheville, although many of the side towns and outskirts of Asheville are what were truly damaged. The last time this happened was in 1916, when the French Broad River crested over 24 feet higher than normal. Now, just to give you a little bit of understanding, the mountains in Asheville, they sit 2,100 feet above sea level. When we usually see hurricanes come in, we see flooding from hurricanes, it's because of surge. That means the water coming in off of the ocean. What happened here was, in certain parts, there were over 30 inches. Most parts it was 24 inches. There was over 30 inches in some areas of rainfall within about a 48-hour period. Now, what that means is you've got these beautiful mountain ranges. All of that water is going to rush off of those mountain ranges, causing mudslides and water runoff, wiping out roads. It's then going to collect into the valleys where these teeny little creeks, including one near where I grew up, is going to turn into a raging river. And that is what's happening, causing flash floods coming down the mountain, massive rivers that were once very cute, quiet little creeks, and absolute destruction. Again, this is the mountains. We don't see this here. So that's why there's so many people that are trapped. That's why help is still needed. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about what led up to this. Now, at the time when this storm happened, I was actually out on the coast, and I was the one getting the phone calls from friends to find out if we fared the hurricane okay. The coast didn't get any rain, which was very unusual. Not a drop of rain on the coast. My parents, we lost touch with both of them for over 24 hours, not knowing where they were, if they were okay, what was going on. Now, many people playing Monday morning quarterback state, well, why didn't they just get out? Here's the thing. Unlike other hurricanes, especially when you see them coming up the coast where there's warning signs and you're going to have your local governments telling you, hey, this is what's going to happen. You should evacuate. You should get out. There was no warning at all. It was simply batten down the hatches and stay off the roads. We're going to have a bad rainstorm. That's all. That's all that they were told. So no, they weren't prepared at all whatsoever. And it came in the night with trees dropping left and right, many on and through homes, and some people didn't make it through the night just because of that. Then came the torrential rains that were with it, causing flash floods and mudslides and all of these other things. And all of this, and most of it, should I say, happened during the night. After 24 hours after the storm had come through, we finally were able to get contact with our parents, both mine and my husband's. And because there was no cell service, they had to try and drive to reach a place that had cell service. Now, this happened after an entire day of getting chainsaws out and cutting trees down to get out of their neighborhood. And I'm talking 5 or 6 houses in a neighborhood. There were hundreds of trees on the roads, hanging over power lines. They were having to go ahead and drive under the power lines just to get cell service. And that's why so many people are still in a bad spot, is as cell service is getting back, we're now finding more people trapped in different areas in the mountains. Now, the biggest challenges that these people faced is the fact that the electricity was out, there was no cell service, there was very limited, if no access to main roads to get anywhere unless you were able to cut yourself and cut your way through. And on top of all of that, because of the massive flooding, the main water pipe that brings the water in from the reservoir was completely destroyed, as was the road that leads you to that point of where the destruction happened, making it seemingly impossible for water to be restored anytime soon. Now, it's been 1 week, and since then, cell coverage has been restored in many areas, and power is starting to make its way back onto the grid. Shout out to all the linemen coming in from as far north as Canada to come in and help our community. Now, since cell coverage is starting to come back online and people are able to share their stories and get reconnected with the outside world for help, we're seeing more and more images and video coming out of the actual experiences of these folks and what it took to go through it. From young children watching houses get swept away by rivers, seeing their neighbors get swept away, it's heartbreaking to really think about it. Now, with all of the stories that are coming out, there's one theme that keeps showing up, and it's the Carolinians, the North Carolinians, even those out in Tennessee, coming together to come to the rescue and the aid of their neighbors. Now, when I say their neighbors, I don't mean just the people up the road. I mean, companies that are taking time out of their busy schedules to go up there and clear roads. Shout out to 𝗖𝗁 𝗨𝘀. I know you guys were up there. I know you took time out of your day, and I know you sent with my husband gallons of diesel up there to make sure people could keep operating and running their generators. It's FDNY that's coming down from New York with equipment and medical items and able to go out there and do search and rescue. It's the private pilots that the day after the storm, when every single road going into Asheville and the mountains was closed, many of them still are, by the way, because of downed trees, landslides, road washouts, these pilots got together and immediately people started getting items from the grocery stores, medical supplies, you name it, getting them to the airfields here and around Charlotte and up in Statesville, and private flights. These are just citizens who have helicopters and planes. We're flying supplies into the Asheville airport, and helicopters starting search and rescue, including the rescue of an 11-month-old baby and her mother. And without these private citizens, it wouldn't have happened. Now, many of the organizations, boots on the ground, are collecting supplies, as well as myself, supplies, donations, etc., that they are getting out to the community. Now, again, some of the most amazing things about this is some of these places are still not accessible except by foot, by mule. That's right, like literally people are taking horses up into the mountains to get supplies to people, including water. As they're delivering these supplies, and mind you, to people who in many cases have lost everything, what they're hearing time and time again is this phrase: give it to someone who needs it more than me. Think about that. You've lost everything you have, and you're asking these people delivering you supplies that you were cut off from the world, you're asking them to give it to somebody who needs it more. This is usually followed up with, we're resilient, we're going to be fine. The mountain folk and people up in the Western Carolinas, they are resilient, but it doesn't mean that they don't need help. So shortly after the hurricane passed, I could not stand by and not do something. It's in my nature, so that's what I did. I started pulling a call out for support. All right, so we decided to reorganize everything a little bit before we loaded it up. Check out what we've got so far. This is gonna be a really great haul. So we've got a whole box of towels, scope, food items, paper towels. Shout out to those who donated baby clothes. We've got a bunch of baby clothes in here. Lots of medical items, paper towels. Still got a whole load of stuff we're going through. As I saw people doing deliveries by air, once I realized the roads had started to open, I knew there was an opportunity for us to use the equipment that we have, such as trucks and SUVs. A whole trailer full to the brim. And all these boxes have multiple things in it. They are all completely packed to get things up the mountain. And there was a massive call for things like baby formula and diapers and things of that nature. Things you don't think about needing on a daily basis. But when you don't have any water, power, or way to get to anything, everything is needed. Now, there was only about one grocery store open for quite some time, and it was cash only. Now there are a few things opening up, but it's still only cash because not all the services are back in order. So these supplies were still needed. As I put the call out through Instagram and social media, I had an outpouring of people, as you can see, delivering box after box after box to our door, and have also raised over $3,000 through Venmo that I'm now going to go out and buy chainsaws and equipment and things like that that people need on the front lines. Now we took the trek up the mountain and we started the day using my Yukon, my SUV, 𝗖cie, and yet she wasn't quite powerful enough to pull the load of things that we had. We had probably $15,000 worth of donations in that trailer. And luckily, last minute, my neighbor was able to loan us his truck. This is talking about the goodwill of Carolinians. I tell you what, he loaned us his truck to take this load up the mountains to make sure it got where it needed to go. You guys behind me, we've got this truck courtesy of our neighbor Zan. Thank you. We're all loaded up. I also reached out to the local brewery, 𝗏𝗏 Brewing. Shout out to 𝗏𝗏 Brewing for loading us up with some more items to come on out. We got dog beds, dog crates, water, diapers, formula. One of my favorites, to see if they needed additional help getting equipment and or materials up the mountain. I know they were bottling a lot of water for the people up there, and they said, yes, actually we could. We have several pallets of things that need to be moved. Well, we drove over there first thing in the morning, loaded up the pallets, and got the additional materials on the back of the trailer. And then we started the trek up the mountain. Now, as we came into Asheville, of course, the major roads and interstates are clear. What I started noticing is there were open doors with signs that says free water, free Wi-Fi, come in and relax. And it was opening the doors for people to charge their phones and more. The outpouring of support even locally, where people can come in, no questions asked, tents set up on corners where people can get simple goods like feminine hygiene products or baby bottles, and everyone is there to help. Now, our first stop was to High Wire Brewing, which is where our delivery from Noda went to. I almost got totally unloaded. And I was wrong, it's High Wire, not Highland, but Highland's also doing something. High Wire has free water. Come by, they've got internet, they've got electricity if you need to charge your phone. Come on by. And they were beyond grateful. In fact, as we were offloading the 2 trucks, we had a few people that walked by and said thank you so much and donated to our fund to make sure that we can keep things going and keep materials coming in that are needed for the town. Now, they are local to Asheville, these people that made the donations, but they realized some people were worse off than they were. And once we finished that, we headed over to Covenant Church, which is down off of 74. And if you've seen any of the images of 74, this is the exit right off of I-40 where I-40 and 74 interconnect. This was under 10 or more feet of water just a few days ago and completely cut off. We headed on over there with our entire haul, and they transformed the entire inside of the church to a shopping center. You come in and you can go shopping. So if you're still looking for anything, come down to this church. This one is Covenant Church. Check this out. They have completely transformed. You got dog food. You got toilet paper, not like 2020. Garbage bags, household items, cleaning supplies, deodorant, toothpaste, feminine products, first aid. If you are having issues with bugs, we know that's happening right now. We've got sunscreen, off repellent. There's also stuff for stings from yellow jackets. Bunch of kids diapers. They do need more adult diapers, so if you guys hear this, they need adult diapers. Check this out. Stacks. Good job, guys. Except the catch is you don't have to pay to come in, nor do you have to be a part of any of their community, their church, have any specific belief. They're there just to help the community. We offloaded and people helped us get things unloaded. As we did, we actually saw a helicopter going over top of us who was out on search and rescue and delivering materials out to Mount Mitchell. That is an area that's still cut off from access by road. Now, I took a tour of the inside of the church, and it's set up, like I said, just like a shopping center. You can go in with a cart, get what you need, people will guide you. And they were making phone calls left and right, calling people in the community, finding out, do you need anything? Can you get here? And if you can't get here, can we bring it to you? Do you mind? Can we get these materials to you? And we're talking things like food, simple things like batteries or toilet paper. In fact, they also have mobile showers on site, giving the community access, no matter who you are, to a nice shower so you can actually feel human again. Now, one of the coolest things about this, when we got home after that long day, we actually came home to boxes upon boxes of more donations that were in my garage and in my living room so that we can go up on a second trip next week as we collect more. There's a few of my clients that have reached out and they have gotten in touch with their companies and they are making massive donations as well. I cannot explain to you what this means for the outpouring of support to the people in the Carolina Mountains in Tennessee and even to those in Charlotte. When you see your community come together, it makes a massive difference. Now, I know you're probably wondering how maybe you can help get involved, and a lot of it comes down to getting the materials that are needed into the hands of the right people. So, who are you gonna trust? I've got some great organizations down below who are boots on the ground in the Carolinas that are actually doing some amazing things. Now, these people are actually trekking it up into the woods to make sure those that need it are getting it. They're recreating and rerouting roads with excavators, you name it, they're making it happen. And it's all the people of the Carolinas who are coming together to do this. Some of these organizations are local churches. The Cajun Navy has done so much for the Carolina Mountains, and Samaritan's Purse is truly doing beautiful work. Now, a lot of the items that are needed have now turned to frontline responders who are needing chainsaws and chainsaw blades and sharpeners and bar oil and all of these things to help them rebuild their communities and honestly, still get out the people that might be trapped. So how can you get involved? Maybe you want to be here, maybe you want to get out there and do some good. Bring your equipment. Be ready to go ahead and get dirty. Get out there and help distribute the goods that are there. But if you can't, just donate. That's all that is needed right now until we start coming up with a plan to rebuild the Western Carolina mountains. So what's next for Asheville and Western Carolinas? Well, they're gonna rebuild and we're gonna be fine. And Charlotte, North Carolina, this beautiful city that I love, is offering so much help and assistance. And honestly, the communities that I'm a part of, seeing the outpouring of support and organization to get goods and donations up into these most devastated areas, including the Boone area, is probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Southern hospitality has been said to be many things. One of the things you don't normally hear are people banding together to take care of one another. It's not just saying hello, it's not just bringing over an apple pie, it's making sure that your neighbor's okay, even when it's not convenient for you. This is one of the most amazing things that I can't quite describe to my followers that are here on YouTube, to my clients who are moving into the area. They don't really know what this culture means until they're a part of it, and then they understand it. This is one of the best examples of what it's like to live in the Carolinas, knowing that your neighbor who you don't even know is gonna have your back when you're in times of need. So if you've been thinking about moving to Charlotte, North Carolina, I'd still do it. We are a wonderful city, we're a wonderful town full of wonderful people. And once again, if you want to get more involved, check out some of the organizations I have listed below. Like I said, 𝗖ście Samaritan's Purse, and a few others are some great organizations that are getting the supplies directly to those in need. And while I know this isn't my usual kind of video that I have on this channel, I thought that it would be a good opportunity for me to use this platform and you as my viewers to make an impact in my home, in my area, in my region, and with the people that need it most. Now, if you have questions or want to know more about Charlotte, of course, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. I'm here to answer all of your questions. And if you want to stay up to date on everything Charlotte, North Carolina, this is the channel to do it. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'm going to keep you up to date on everything going on, even the things you didn't know you wanted to know. Now, again, I do get calls, texts, and emails every day, every week, from people just like you that are looking to move to Charlotte, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So if that's you, reach out to me, schedule a call, give me a text, an email. All of my information is in the description below. I'm here to help you, whether it's 9 days or 90 days, whether you're moving across the country, across the world, or just across town. I'm here to make your move exactly what you want it to be. Until next time, I look forward to showing you around town. And thank you again for listening. So you're making the move. There's a lot of videos that you can be watching, like this one right here, or maybe even this one. Really either one of these, but honestly, watch both of them because they're gonna help you make the move. Go ahead, pick one. They're both really good.